to 8.1, or approval of transitional kindergarten early intervention. Allison Beaver. Oh, and we also have one speaker, but so the process is that we'll take the presentation first, or we'll have an opportunity to ask clarifying questions, and then we will hear from our speaker, and then we will have a further discussion after that.
Good evening, Board President Mock, board members, Dr. McClurg, and Cabinet. Tonight I would like to review information about a transitional kindergarten early intervention program, continuing the conversation that we had at our last board meeting. So this evening I would like to review specific program information, review the cost of the program, and then make a staff recommendation. So to review information about the Transitional Kindergarten Early Intervention Program, this information was presented at our last school board meeting. And so to review, we're looking at 1 to 2 classrooms for students who are 4 years of age by September 1st. We would like to prioritize enrollment for and limit it to students who meet age and expanded learning opportunity program eligibility criteria. So students who are foster youth, homeless youth, or income eligible. And we anticipate, based on our current percentages, that we might garner approximately 25 students who are eligible for this program. We would recommend a slightly shorter school day than our K-6 students currently partake in. Our anticipated curriculum that we would use would follow the progression of what is offered currently in our K-6 programming. So we're looking at wonders of pre-K program in mathematics, cognitively guided instruction. You heard about social emotional learning related to second step and the use of that curriculum. We discussed providing after-school care for students. Again, that funding stream coming through our ELOP funding, and then continuing our ECDC program for our 4-year-old students. When we look at the financial impact of a transitional kindergarten early intervention program, we are looking at the cost of 1 classroom to be approximately $274,000. And that cost breakdown per classroom, staff cost is approximately $204,000 per class, and then a one-time startup cost of $70,000. That one-time startup cost considers curriculum purchasing, any materials needed for learning, like mathematics, art materials, science materials, and any potential furniture that we may need to purchase. And then so we would double that number for 2 classrooms. So tonight, staff is recommending the approval of a transitional kindergarten early intervention program beginning with the 2024-2025 school year, with eligibility for enrollment prioritized for and limited to foster, homeless, and income eligible students who are 4 years of age by September 1st of the school year. Can I answer any questions?
I just have a question about the language. When you say prioritize for and limited to, aren't you just limiting it to it? I mean, it's redundant to some extent. Who are you giving them priority over?
Well, we are making sure that we are prioritizing this program for our students in our community who would most benefit from high quality first learning programs.
If
You don't need to vote. You don't need to say prioritize for and limited to. Just take out the prioritize for and just say limited to.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm just thinking, because if you're prioritizing, we don't meet the 25 student number, are we going to open up to people that don't fit those? Is that what you're saying?
Can you repeat the question?
If we're giving priority to foster homeless and income eligible students.
The word and would mean no. I mean, so getting to your point, then we don't need prioritized for.
Exactly. Yeah, unless we're gonna give them priority over some other group. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
So my question is, I'm understanding the scope of this, and are you modeling this after any other districts in California that have done the same thing? Are we learning from other districts that this is a good approach to take, and maybe learning from them on the implementation if they've already done it?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and we continue to collaborate with local school districts, one, who are offering transitional kindergarten, and then also to think about what a high-quality program for this group of students would look like. And so with that said, because transitional kindergarten continues to not be funded for school districts like ours, there are still opportunities to learn from others who may have programs like this. The majority of programs that are offered in funded school districts may not look at this type of enrollment. However, we look at high quality instruction for all students, and we currently serve this group of students in our K-6 setting, so have a lot of experience in being able to provide a high quality program for students.
I've looked at every school district in the state that offers TK, and no one does this. I would be first.
And I just had a couple more questions. One was, if we provide direction tonight, would you be coming back with more specifics as to maybe what location, whether we have the appropriate classroom configuration? And so that's one question. So let me pause there and see what the answer is, what the next steps would be.
Sure. So based upon the direction from the board tonight, we would be happy to bring forth any further information with questions that you have available in the time that we are able to answer those questions specifically. So
We would continue to update the board, yes, but would not need any more board approval. And then to get back to the other question regarding the transitional kindergarten. This is transitional kindergarten early intervention, which is different. We're not required to offer transitional kindergarten in our district because we do not receive funding. So therefore, this is a different program. To speak to exactly what was just brought up by Board Member Fitzpatrick, it is different, not like other transitional kindergartens. It is transitional kindergarten early intervention.
What's the difference?
Specifically targeted to exactly what you were reading about, and limited to the children who would be eligible based on that criteria.
What do we do if we can't fill the 25 student number that we set out?
We have the class with the students who are eligible.
I'm sorry, do we have the number already?
No,
So what if we don't get 25 students?
we might
within-
not. We don't.
Run a smaller class.
Yeah, we run a
That's
smaller
what
class, just like we do with
one
other
class.
other classes. We do that with other classes as well.
Why would we not open it up at that point so we can fill the 25 seats?
That would be a different board direction. Board's given us direction for this.
We have a introduction.
I don't remember what you're talking about.
Yeah,
We talked about that.
Well, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me.
That's a different kind of a program. If it's designed specifically for intervention, then we would target it for intervention, and those kids that would qualify based on the intervention model would actually be benefited by participating in whatever the size of the class is, just like we right now will have a variation in class sizes throughout the district.
I'm still confused as to why you would have a program, a TK program for foster homeless and income eligible students that's different from any other kindergartens. I mean, the program is the program, right? We're learning the same things.
We get all the money for this program, so this is something that we can do to support the most.
So I get it, but we have a
We do get money
program.
for this program, we get more
We have
money
a
than
program
the
that we're putting
neighboring
out
districts
aside
who are
money
eligible
for 25 students, right? If we limit it to to 25 students and say, this is our first,
First of all, it's 20, because it's 10 to 1. So it's, I mean, we're saying,
25 is the number of kids that they think would be eligible for this program. So they can enroll up to 2 classes, so that's 40 kids.
okay.
So
Well-
if they come in.
So potentially 5 kids would not be able to attend this program who are eligible?
No, they would roll, that would be.
Well, if they're eligible, they can.
40 kids, there's 25 eligible kids in their school.
we're saying we think there are 25, we're not limiting it to 25. That is how many right now, based on the data that we have, that would be eligible.
So hypothetically, if you rolled this out, publicized it to the community, and we had 60 students, you could come back to the board and ask for approval to have the number of classes to support that.
But only if they meet that criteria.
Right. I'm just based on this, the way this is described. So
Yes.
it's not,
Any child eligible would be allowed to attend, yes.
right. So I just want to distinguish, we're not saying, let's have a program for 25 students. It's, let's have a program that meets this students that meet this criteria, and the number we believe is 25, but it could be less, it could be more. And so my hypothetical would be, if it's 60 or 80 who meet this criteria, then you could come back to the board to get approval to actually fund and implement that. But at this point, you're estimating it's going to be about 25.
Yes. That would be eligible, yes.
I'm still not sure why, I have no issue prioritizing for these categories. But why would we, if we can't meet what we're approving in terms of numbers, why not open it up to others? I don't understand why we wouldn't do that.
Because it's an intervention program for the children who qualify, who are eligible.
I think,
Well, that's a nice definition, but I don't know what that means. Am I the only one that's lost here? What does that mean? What's the difference between an intervention program and a program for TK?
So,
The people that you're serving, I don't understand how this is not making sense.
and so we're defining the program to be an early intervention program because we are not mandated by the state because we don't receive funding to have a program. So we have had conversations around a certain funding that we have available and how we want to prioritize that funding. And through that conversation, the idea of having a transitional kindergarten program came to be. We don't have the funding sources to add another grade level for all students at this time. And so having a transitional kindergarten early intervention program for a group of students is something we can do.
And I understand that provides a limitation for us. I get that, but if we can approve this with a limitation, and if we don't meet that number with this criteria, why not fill it with others? I don't understand if we're maintaining the same, if
And
it's,
you're gonna follow how you're gonna pick
I think the
others
question
and all
maybe we
that.
should ask is, so how many, so you say we don't get funding for it, I disagree with that. You say that we can't fully fund it, I disagree with that. So how many students can we serve? And we give priority to these students, and then how many above and beyond, if we don't meet that number, can we serve?
That would be different board direction. Board direction was to bring back an early intervention program based on criteria and not to do any other kind of eligibility at that time. So that would be a different board direction that we would need from this board. We did not get that. We got direction to bring back the item that was exactly what you see up here. So if board gives different direction, we will go back and do something different. But tonight, this is what's brought forward for you because that is what the direction
Yeah, it's good, it's good to have a healthy ongoing conversation about this topic because it will not be going away. And yeah, I think that if we're not going to fill 25 seats potentially, how many more seats can we fill? And can we go above and beyond 25? Is that really all we can afford is 25?
It's 40.
So it'd be 2 classrooms.
We said the 20, let me just clarify the 25 number is how many we believe right now
Sure.
based on who we have.
So, okay,
would
40
probably,
seats, and
yes,
but
would
we're
probably
not
be eligible.
opening up the rest of those seats?
That would be different direction from the board.
Ridiculous.
If I can ask a procedural question, I really like the presentation. I know we may sort of be in the middle or not, but I know we have someone who wanted to get some comments, and perhaps it would help inform our deliberation. So I don't know when.
I was just going to suggest if it was okay with you all, let's take the comment now and then we'll come back to our continued discussion. It's okay? All right.
No pressure.
Thank you, and our presenters, our commenters, Mahil Kashani, if I pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, hi, good evening, happy new year. My name is Mahdi. I didn't actually plan to speak. I just knew that this is gonna be a topic. I'm a parent of a second grader in the USD and a parent of a 4-year-old. We moved to this district intentionally because we wanted high level of education for our kids. This is my first time being in the board, very educational. Thanks for the opportunity. I learned a lot. Regarding TK program, my son, my 4-year-old, is just a month away from kinder threshold. He's already missing kindergarten. And I hope that, I heard there are some overflow budget, and I hope that we can allocate this to the TK program so some kids like my 4-year-old can benefit from it. I understand that there is no specific budget for TK from federal and state, but this is basically paying by taxpayers, and as a taxpayer, we would love to have our kids going to the school education level as soon as it is. Based on study, it is needed for kids. I'm from Canada. My son, if we were in Canada, he would be in junior kindergarten, similar to TK, past September. So I just saw the plan. I wonder, again, because all the funding comes from taxpayers, wouldn't be, that's just my question, wouldn't be a little more fair if instead of going with financial status, going with age? Like the kids that have, like, I studied other boards program for TK, and they basically start from the kids that are older, but they don't meet the kindergarten threshold. So that's my first question, if it's possible to go with age instead of financial status. My other question is that I heard if we have over 25 and we have 60, then we're gonna go with 60. If there is a budget available for TK, can we just allocate this budget for TK and then say, okay, we have capacity for this much student, that's based on budget, and then we'll see priorities for this group, but if it doesn't fit in, so other students have also the opportunity. Just going by budget instead of going by how many eligible students we have, if it is possible at all. And then just out of curiosity, I wonder how many students you think will be eligible at all for TK if you want to go with every 4-year-old student at the district, how many would be? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. FYI, we just don't, the board's not able to directly address your comments or your questions, so, but you'll hear our discussion.
Thanks for this.
Thank you.
Could I go ahead and make a motion to approve the board's recommendation, the staff's recommendation to institute a transitional kindergarten early intervention program as described?
Can I just say, I'm happy that we're having the program, because once the program is in place, I think it's easier to grow a program once we plant the seeds. I would like to know if that issue arises, that we have seats that are unused, that we've kind of apportioned, and address that perhaps at a later date. But I think at this point, it makes sense to at least plant the seed. And with that, I will second your motion.
There's a motion and a second on the floor.
So I think it would be appropriate for more discussion, if I could ask a couple more questions.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Can we
Yeah, we can discuss.
continue to discuss? All right, let's go discuss.
So let me ask the money question, I'm looking at Chris. So as part of this journey, I am an advocate for doing something and not nothing. So I'm glad we're having this conversation, we're moving forward. We had a series of budget workshops, and we were asking ourselves if more money is becoming available to the district, how could we leverage those resources? And this is clearly one area. There could be other areas as well, but this is one area, and you've penciled out some costs that look reasonable to get us going from zero to something to planting the seed. Tonight we looked at a budget modification based on approving new salaries for our staff. And so my question is, with that increase in the budget, or on the expense side, are we still feeling comfortable that we can fund this program that's being recommended tonight?
Yes. I'm happy to give more detail if there's more requested, but yes, we could fund this program next year based on our estimates and based on the budget workshops where we looked at expected enrollment and what that expected impact would be, and we, with the raise and the expected revenue and expenditures for next year, we would be able to fund this program.
For next year and the following years?
And ongoing years.
Perfect, thank you.
And for me, I mean, yeah, this has been really great to see that you guys are making efforts to implement TK. However, I don't want to limit, especially if we have the ability to serve more students next year and say, oh, tonight we're giving this direction, that therefore closes the doors, and so next year when we have 12 kids potentially sign up, then, we've got 28 more that aren't being served because we made a decision tonight that cut that short. Maybe it won't turn out that way, maybe we'll have 60 that are eligible according to these criteria, and we are able to then come back and serve more. But to say, is that what we're voting on tonight? To say that it's completely limited next year to these students, and if it is less than 25, or it's 25, and we still have, I'm doing the math here, 15 more seats available, we're not extending those seats.
Well, to clarify, my motion was to accept the staff's recommendation, with the amendment that we already discussed again, prioritized for, because it's already described, so it's as described, and there's no discussion, it doesn't include what to do, it doesn't include filling vacant seats. So that would be, there's always an opportunity for another motion, and after this, at another meeting,
That's
come
my
back.
question, is there, because
There could be another, you could always bring it back to another meeting, there's always add to the program.
The staff recommendation removed one of the words.
Sorry,
The staff recommendation removed one of the words. It was, I think,
we're
removed.
taking out prioritize for. So the staff recommendation, we can clarify in a second, but it's exactly that, the words prioritize for removed. It could
So
be added
it
to the
is,
chart.
it is placing that limitation.
Limited to,
Can can I add at this point, because it's seconded, maybe I should rename my second. Can I add something that just simply says that at the end of the word year, a new sentence that says, in the event.
sorry, could we just vote on the motion that I gave, and then if you want to add another,
Well, yeah, but
motion doesn't pass,
I want to
then you can
reverse,
make it
I want to
as a-
reverse my second
Okay.
on that.
reverse your second.
If somebody else wants to second it, they can. But what I would do is just add at the end, in the event that additional seats are available after this limitation period closes, that the board would be given an opportunity to determine what to do with those extra seats.
So might I suggest procedurally, if you wanted to make a motion to amend this language here, to add that, you could present that, and then we could decide whether we prefer it this way or prefer it with your modification. That might be appropriate, I'm just making that
I-
We've
I
always
suggest-
voted on a motion before going to the next motion. So I mean,
But that wasn't, my second was
if
taken
you
away.
have
so-
no second, then that's fine, but I'm just saying, I'd like to put the, I think it's appropriate, this is what staff recommended, you made a clarification of the language, and I think it's appropriate that we vote on this motion as brought forward, and so that's why I'm,
Make your
Right,
motion.
second it.
If anybody wants to second it, they
if you
can.
don't want to second it, that's fine, but I'm just, that's my motion.
And just for clarification, to get that information from you all about how many TK seats are you comfortable with in your budget supporting? What is that going to take?
I mean, we can bring back, so my understanding from the budget workshops was that we had a couple of priorities, facilities and TK. And so we've looked at providing a program that allows us to provide TK at a specific number that would fit based on our projections within the budget and allow us to reserve some money towards the facilities needs that we have as well. And so, we can look at those numbers again. We can look at, I think, having an idea of enrollment. We'll have make it clearer as we share through the budget workshop process. We have a spectrum of what we expect will be the revenue that we have not identified an expenditure for. So it's basically the disposable income that we were discussing in 24, 25, and 25, 26. And so this we can absolutely afford if the board if the board would like to direct that we are not reserving for facilities, then we have more that could be moved towards TK.
I think that's the extent.
When you say this, I'm not sure what you're talking about. You say this we can afford.
This program with 1 to 2 classes.
Because what we
So
presented,
we
And I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we should increase it beyond 1 to 2 classes. That's not, what I'm saying is, if I can add an amendment to what's being recommended, is that in the event those seats within that 1 or 2 classes remain open after prioritizing the foster, homeless, and the income eligible students, if there are empty seats, that we bring that back to the board to determine how to fill those seats. That's my recommendation and amendment. If anybody wants to approve that, that's fine.
Yes, because I don't want to limit us tonight and get stuck in some position where, oh, but remember we had that vote on January 17th and sorry, we can't let anyone else in because they're not foster, homeless, or income eligible.
And what if we have 10 people, or, we've got.
So what I'm a little bit confused by is that we've had these, I mean,
Yeah, we had one.
we've had multiple discussions regarding budget, regarding TK and discussing budget. We've had another meeting last meeting where.
We're having this one now.
No, I'm what I'm saying, like there's.
It's okay, though.
No, I'm not saying that
Have
we're.
more and more questions
Please,
surface.
please, just a second. There have been multiple meetings about this. In the last meeting, it was asked of us, can you provide direction with regard specifically to one that's limited to this issue? To these
I don't
students?
recall limiting it to foster, homeless, and income eligible students.
It was very very clear. That was specifically the direction, and that's what was kind of move forward with it. And that's okay. If there's a different direction, that's fine. It's just that we need to clarify now. And
I did. With my amendment, does anybody, I'll make a motion to approve the board direction with the amendment that says, if there are seats that are unused within that 2 classroom grouping, that the administration come back to the board, and then the board determines what to do with those
Call for a
seats.
second first on the first motion.
Excuse me?
You have to call for a second on the first motion before you,
He was just saying his first motion.
no, I made the motion.
Right.
So
Did-
there's no,
Oh, if anybody seconds
you
it?
have to call for, if there's no second, then you can propose another motion. I'm saying,
I don't see how it hurts us to add this amendment to the, I'm not changing anything.
I'm just asking that we see if there's a second, and if there's a second, we vote, and if it fails, then we can propose a different version of this.
Right, so
what are your
I mean,
concerns?
so the way I see it playing out, I can tell you where I would like to end up. I would like to end up with this wording, with just enrollment limited to, knowing that we can have a continuing dialogue with the staff if there's a desire to expand to this. But today, I want to get started, and I want to get started with this. The way we get there from a parliamentary perspective is we either take the language and entertain a motion and I know 2 people would probably like that motion, but if only 2 people want it, that won't pass. And then we would go to the primary language, we would have someone present the motion and second it, and my guess is that there will be 3 people who like the language as it's worded, and then it would pass.
Could I just,
That's the way I see it playing out, and I just want to get to where we really, to the conversation of, what do we want? Do we want this, or do we want it as you modified?
I don't see how my modification changes this. Could somebody explain how that happens? If we have empty seats within these 2 classrooms, how does my modification change anything other than the fact that it gets brought back to the board for further discussion? How does it change this directive?
Well, actually, if you come back to the board for future further discussion, you want that modification. And this can come back to the board anytime. Anytime the district, the staff wants to come back to us, and you've suggested to Chris that a good idea might be if there are open seats that the board should consider what to do with it, that can be considered anytime. This in no way precludes further consideration of this.
I don't buy that.
Well,
I'm not sitting on this board as the years I have, no.
I'm not sure how are we precluding anything by, if there are seats available, Alan, you want this thing to go forward.
Not the way you described it. And let me
What
tell you
am I
why.
describing?
Let me tell you why. Here's my concern with your recommendation. I think it's logical and I understand it. And I don't want to second guess and get in the heads of the staff. But I'm imagining that if we have the language you're describing and we say, we're going to fill it first for those that meet that criteria. And then we're going to open up, I'm going to make a hypothetical, 3 spots. And there's going to be a lottery. And then the staff has to deal with
Whoa,
a lottery.
That's not at all what I'm saying.
Okay.
It comes back to us with a discussion about how those 3, if those 3 slots are, it comes back to us, that's my point. I'm not telling anybody to go.
What's wrong with the lottery for 3 seats? What, would you rather have no one in those seats?
Well, I'm just,
Like, why?
as I said, I can't.
Are we in the
supposed to get in
business
their
of
heads.
education?
There
Are
may
we
be,
in the business of education here?
there may be some other reasons why this language is on the board, and it's not as you described.
Well, all I'm describing is that let's take a shot at filling all the seats with foster homeless and income eligible students. But if we can't fill all the seats with those criterion students, then come back to us and let us know that so that we can have a discussion about how the empty seats are filled. Because I think if we're gonna do this program, let's do the program.
Is anyone gonna second Erica's motion?
So here's the issue. I mean, we all know there is limited amount of funds.
And it won't change the funding. It's the same amount that we're.
The issue is the funding is you're never going to get to a full program. We cannot
Why
afford a
would you
full
say
program.
that?
I mean,
I'm
with-
happy
with-
on the board, we call it second and
I'm so confused. If we approve this, the funding is the same regardless.
All right, let's call for a second. Is there a second to Erica's motion? I'll second it.
Why? Can you explain your reasoning?
Which was I was trying to go to before, is that there is a limited amount of funds that for the past few months, we've had this discussion. There is currently an opportunity with the additional income from the decrease in enrollment that opens up about approximately like $1.4 million. And if that allows us to do something additional that we couldn't do before. We do not have to offer transitional kindergarten. It's not something that's required of us.
I understand.
According to you.
According to our lawyers, not according to me. It's according to our attorneys. According to our attorneys and according to our staff. And not only according to them, but according to other organizations that also told us the same thing, multiple times.
Okay.
So, if we do not have the opportunity to fully fund it, it's gonna be incremental. So we have about 1.4 million to work with.
I get it.
1.4 does not cover the whole thing. 1.4 covers approximately maybe like 5 classes or so.
You're preaching to the.
I'm not preaching, I'm not trying to preach, I'm just explaining my decision.
I agree with you.
I'm just explaining my decision, Doug. It's not, I'm not
No.
arguing with you at all. I'm not arguing with you, Doug.
I'm just trying to figure the logic. If we're approving a certain amount of money here to be used for foster homeless and income eligible people, right? That amount of money is set. We approve it. is it gonna change if those students that are in that group are not within that criteria? It's
So
not.
what happens
This is not
then if there are only 10 that meet that criteria, and then we say, or you guys come back to us and say, okay, we've got our 10, that's it. Then no more are eligible.
So, if I can continue, I mean, so my point was, is that with the limited amount we have, there is only an opportunity for so much, and I would rather service some students than none, so I'd rather do something. And this services those that are the most needy of all the students in our district, the ones that need it the most. This is who we're reaching out to. I understand it does not serve every single family of ours that may have an interest in this program, but it services those with the most needs. And I don't think that there's anybody in our community who would say, you know what, that's wrong to go out there and try to service those with the most needs. But I also understand that if we were to do more beyond the 1.4 million, for instance, that there is an impact on our current education, or on the current K-6 programs, which limits which would be an impact on their class sizes. And I do not want to increase our class sizes as well. So, given that, I'd rather service who we can service now, which is these students. And to your point, Doug, what you're asking about, that becomes a question of if we open up more classes.
No, it
How-
doesn't.
We're not,
I'm not asking
No.
for that at all.
No.
I'm saying, look at this, if you look at what's on the paper here, it says $548,000 is what's being asked of us. I'm saying, let's approve $548,000 worth of program. But if we can't fill the entire program with that criteria, we've already approved $548,000.
Just to clarify, I would oppose that, because
Why?
I don't want to open the door to a general TK program we cannot
that's
afford.
where this
to
is
go down
coming
this
from. Now
road.
you're getting the real
This-
answer here.
That has always been the
Now-
real answer. That was
They
why
don't
we
wanna
gave
fill 40
limited
seats.
direction to.
They don't want to spend money on this
May I
program.
please finish speaking, or
Of course.
do you want to keep
Finish.
interrupting? Thank you.
No, I don't want to keep interrupting you.
That's
Anyway, so just to clarify that there's a reason why the board had a very fair discussion. We've been discussing this for like a year and a half. We've had board workshops. We had a whole session in December to talk about it, and the board gave direction that the thing that we could all get comfortable with was the Transitional Kindergarten Early Intervention Program. And everybody seemed to be a fan of that. I get that you want it to be a bigger program, and you feel that we should cut into the general fund and other classes to fund the TK program. I don't agree. I am concerned that if you start to open any spots to non-qualified students, that you will just create a problem, and how are you gonna pick the kids? I don't think a lottery is a good idea. So you don't have to agree with me, but I'm just sharing my opinion, that's why I support this, and I'm not supportive of opening other seats.
And I
All
disagree,
my
we
admin-
have had lots of conversations about TK for, yes, years,
All-
but this was just brought to us on December, or whatever date it was.
All my
20
amendment
something.
does,
So vote no. Then.
all my amendment
Let's go one at
does,
a time, it's fine.
all my amendment does is it says that if we can't fill all the seats, that it gets brought back to us to figure out what to do with those empty seats, because we've approved a certain amount of seats. That's what
We
I'm
can always come
asking.
back to you at any time, you don't.
No, don't buy that.
So, I appreciate your amendment, but this is why I don't support it. So, there are three ways we could phrase this. Let's approve a program with X number of seats. Another way is, let's approve a program with Y amount of budget. The other way we can describe it is, let's have a program for students that meet this criteria. What I see on the board is the third. The reason I support this one is in my hypothetical, if 60 students meet this criteria, and you come back to me and ask me for the budget and the seats, Alan will be supportive of that. But it's under the rubric of this alternative. What I'd be reluctant to do is say, tonight we're gonna approve X number of seats, or we're gonna approve Y number of dollars for TK. I think there's a lot of value in the recommendation, the way it's formulated, and that's why I would approve it as written with the modification of enrollment limited to?
The directive I recall was, we'll start with a limited program. That's what I remember here, okay? And the limited program,
Is limited in number
if we get,
and dollars.
if we say prioritize and limited to foster, homeless, and income eligible students, and that number far exceeds what we anticipate, what are we gonna do at that point? I think if we approve it by way of prioritizing that criteria and agreeing to a number of seats or a budget, that makes a lot more sense. Because it's a limited program.
Yes, because we were looking originally at the budget. That's how all of this discussion came about, the budget, right? How much money do we want to allocate from the excess 1.4 you say to this program, okay? We have a lot of excess dollars and we're not funding this program at all. This is a great, yes, prioritize this group. I'm sure this group has been highlighted because there's not more than 25. But if we have 2 classrooms and we're saying, oh, let's fund 2 classrooms, then why not have more students there are more students in this community who would benefit from this. I don't know what the total is. It was asked what the total of 4-year-olds are who would benefit from this program. I don't remember the number off the top of my head. I think it was presented to us last month.
And all my amendment does is it says that if we don't fill this $540,000 amount, which is listed right here, because it is a budgetary criteria, if we have that and we don't fill the seats,
And what do we do with that money?
we come back and talk about what to do. And I get it, I understand it, I see right where everybody wants this thing to
Our
go.
4-year-old's not getting to that.
And frankly, it's somewhat upsetting, but go ahead and second your motion and eliminate the ability to
And
think
when
into
we
the
get, and
future.
when we get, when we have 15 extra seats next year and no one's sitting in them, and we've got these big classrooms, oh, the class size is down, great, okay, but we've got 15 kids in Del Mar, Carmel Valley, who, okay, they've missed the threshold by this or that, but I'm sorry, you can't learn, you can't go to school every day.
So I'll stop.
Go
All
look
right.
at your wait list at the preschool up the hill.
Okay, well, there's nothing more, there's been a motion and a second, you can call for the vote if you like. So,
So there's a motion and second on this.
there's a motion on second, currently is modified with this without the prior test. So, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
Motion passes 3-2. Thank you. Okay, we're at 911,
Go back and talk about it all the time. I didn't vote against
Alright.
it. I will give this rendition of it.
please. We're at 911, board report with facilities update with Carlos Alvarez. Thank you.
Good evening, President Mott, members of the board, Superintendent Clerk, Cabinet. I'm proud to present to you the January facilities update. I'll be discussing the Del Mar Hills Academy modernization, Del Mar High School rebuild, and the front entry system. So first off, the Del Mar Hills Academy modernization project. Coming up, we have a community meeting based on board direction. We are moving the school off-site, so we'll be discussing this at the January 31 community meeting to give them an update of what the school year will look like in 24-25. And then the next steps as we open up enrollment February 1st. So currently we will be holding kindergarten through 3rd grade at Del Mar Heights once the school opens up. And then 4th, 5th, and 6th grade will be off-site. And then we still plan to start construction June 2024 as has been presented in the past.